Used to care too much. Used to know I'm
Evonik.
Simrise, always inspiring more.
They think it makes life clear. your mind. Drink that wine. Drink the wine. Look at me.
Evonik, leading beyond chemistry.
better now. Should be visible now. Just keep it like this. Okay. Okay. Okay, perfect.
Simrise. Always inspiring more.
And welcome to this year's COSCEM conference. I'd like to welcome all of you here. We're glad to be back here. We would hope that it would have been in person, but we just found so many things that are so much better when it's online. And this is why this year again, we have our conference online. And I think this year, many of us hope to see the end of the pandemic and the return to the new normal. And we've certainly seen the easing of restrictions and experienced less impact due to COVID-19. But there are other enduring challenges that continues to face our world. Climate change continues to have an increasingly larger impact on our planet. And this led to resource shortages, and it's becoming more frequent and widespread, just thinking about the palm oil shortages of early this year. And our world is constantly changing, and like we said, the conference is one of those things. We change from being in person to online, and the beauty in the personal care industry is also constantly changing. During the pandemic, we saw the push towards e-commerce, and it's still increasing, and there's global focus that remains on natural ingredients and the self-care trend. There's also a greater drive towards transparency, whether in natural or synthetic ingredients, and consumers want to see businesses meeting sustainability goals, and they're looking for palpable solutions. So with consumers becoming increasingly informed and demanding, the movement towards individual solutions, beauty that includes everyone, and diversity, businesses are expected to show tangible results and not just this promise of them. So during this conference this year, we aim to touch on these relevant topics. We also hope that we can share some new technologies and ingredients that will offer solutions to your business and enhance the scientific knowledge of our Coskam society. So I really hope that this conference will be truly influential beauty for all. And then this morning, I also would like to welcome Bev back. Bev, it's great to have you back here.
Thank you, Lisa.
And we're looking forward to all the interesting topics that you also share with us and your great hosting skills.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your lovely introduction. I'm thinking it's quite hilarious that we somehow matching the decor.
Yes.
The conference center today. We never got the memo, I promise. No. But somehow we're on the same vein. Welcome, everyone. It's spring. And it feels like quite a revival. And with spring, like we know, it's the birth of new ideas, new things. And we are hoping from Coskam that this year we offer you a program that is birthed in new ideas. And with our theme, Influential Beauty for All, which Liesl touched on, it's so prevalent these days, what we're seeing on social media. The world is so full of noise. Yes. And really what we hope to achieve at Coskam is always that, do we say it's fad or fashion? Because that's a lot of the influence these days. Or is it actually based on solid truth? So we, as an educating and as a scientific body, we always try our hardest to bring the best technologies. And we believe that the program this year is actually very relevant. We have some exciting debate panel topics coming up and discussion panels. And obviously our presenters, some have been here from last year. This year, they're here again. So for me, I really think that the theme is very relevant. And going forward, we have to compare, like I say, are we just going according to social media standards, or are we actually looking at scientific evidence? Yes. So we have our speaker online. He's waiting. We've had him before. Yes. Harold, all the way from Berlin. And he's been part of the Coskam seminars before as well, at other presentation events. And what I think is going to be quite exciting, Liesl, is, you know, we've always seen this thing with efficacy results and what we see as the consumer, perception-wise, like visibly on the skin, and how do we actually marry those two? And Harold's topic for today is called facial skin aging, and he's uniting clinical proof with consumer perception. So we're looking very, very forward to hearing from you, Harold. Welcome this morning in
Good
South
morning,
Africa.
thank you.
Just before you start, Harold, can I just also encourage everyone that's online, please ask questions. You can ask it on the Teams platform. It is anonymous, so you can ask any question you want. We do have access to the questions, so we really do encourage you to please interact with our speakers, just to make it feel like it's a little bit more personal.
Thank you.
Great.
Perfect. So we hand over to Harold. Welcome to sunny South Africa, even though you're not
Yes,
here
thank
with
you
us
very
in
much.
person.
It's cloudy here up north.
That sounds very depressing.
Well, it isn't, to be honest, because we had a great and very hot and very dry summer. So looking forward to a bit of rain and fall and falling leaves, to be honest.
Oh, good, good.
Strange, aren't we? Yeah, that's true. But that's us North Europeans. We're a bit strange, maybe.
All right, Harold, thank you. You can start.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you to the organizers for having me, especially at this time of the day. This is normally the time of the day my brain works best, and then during the course of the day, my brain starts to get a bit tired. So thank you for that. So I'm going to be talking to you about facial skin aging and uniting proof with consumer perception, clinical proof. Something we looked at, but of course we need to start with, let's say, cell biological proof. Yes, CLR, we tend to be quite scientific and quite boring maybe for many of you, but at least we try to understand everything we do, and we try to make our products relevant for the consumer, where consumer perception might be different from the science. The science definitely needs to be relevant. When it comes to anti-aging skincare, especially facial care, we need to, of course, take into account the consumer of the anti-aging skincare products, who at this point in time, different from, let's say, 10 years ago, is much different in the sense of much younger in age when the people of 30 to 50 years old, and that's the main anti-aging skincare consumer, buy anti-aging skincare. They're not really interested in I'm going to put off because I'm hearing my own voice now, but so in the anti part of aging, but rather in better aging, healthy aging, etc. So these people are much more positive about aging than, let's say, 10 years ago, where people wanted to fight problems. They're much more proactive and preventive. And if you look at reports of Mintel and global data and Euromonitor and so on, what they're mostly interested in is the visible signs of skin aging. Skin aging is very multifaceted, has many different aspects to it, which we all find interesting at CLR. But if you look at what the consumer needs to do something about the visible signs of skin aging. So that is our focus with this product I'm going to be talking to you about. What are the visible signs of skin aging? Essentially, lines and wrinkles, nothing surprising there. Uneven skin coloration might be a bit surprising, especially in the context of the fact we're not just talking about melanin. I'll get back to that in later on in this presentation. And nothing surprising as well is loss of firmness and sagging. And I think this is a very interesting thing I'm going to be showing you now. This is a report, a publication in the International Journal of Cosmetic Science of a few years ago by Chanel, in cooperation with some universities, where they used Photoshop. And they asked naive assessors, people from the street, how much younger do these people look after having Photoshopped away a few of those visible signs of skin aging? For instance, photoshopping away the sagging and smoothing out the wrinkles with Photoshop. You see both ladies, the Chinese lady and the Caucasian lady, look younger, obviously. Taking away or improving the evenness of overall skin color, you see both ladies looking much younger. Also focusing on the eyes with color, you see them looking younger. And if you take away all three of those aspects, you see both ladies looking significantly younger. And as I said, these visible signs of skin aging are the focus for the anti-aging skincare consumer. And now these naive assessors judged how much younger these ladies looked. And you can see interesting things here. You can see that the Caucasian lady looks about almost 4 years younger after having photoshopped away the sagging and the wrinkles. The Chinese lady, approximately 2 years younger. But if you take skin color evenness overall and also in the eyes, you can see that both for the Chinese lady and the Caucasian lady, this has a huge impact on how old they looked or how much younger they looked in after the photoshopping. So basically you can see that skin sagging and these kinds of things are important for Caucasian skin, but color evenness is as important and is more important for people with a bit darker skin, like for instance this Chinese lady. Photoshopping away all these aspects, you can see that these ladies were judged to be about, let's say, 6 years younger in how they looked. So that is essentially the focus for our product. So are we gonna have a product in the end where you make the ladies look 6 to 7 years younger? Probably not, of course, but we at least understand where we're going to. This is what we want to address, and this is something we need to address, first of all, in vitro. We need to understand what we're doing, obviously. As I said, we're not sexy at CLR, but we're definitely scientific. We try to understand the problem and then get away the cause of the problem. And the problem of skin aging has 3 drivers, basically. Time. Yeah, so with time we age, that's normal. Extrinsic factors, especially UV light, which is said to be accountable for 80% of all the visible signs of skin aging, the wrinkles, the unevenness of skin color, caused by UV light. Things like pollution and blue light and these kinds of things you can also take into consideration, but UV light is for us by far the most important factor to look at. But also intrinsic factors we need to now take a look at as well. Science is evolving, the consumer is evolving as well, is much more aware of stress, psychological stress. We now know from scientific literature that intrinsic factors like, for instance, cortisol leads to problems which relate to skin aging or induces skin aging. So in our in vitro studies, we looked at these three aspects. We looked at time, we cultivated cells, we cultivated skin models for a long time. We exposed them to UV light, we exposed them to cortisol. You can imagine we did a lot of studies in the end. And in the end, we came to conclusions on how our product worked. Cortisol, just to underline its importance in skin aging, so psychological stress or a lack of sleep or a lack of good quality sleep will lead to skin aging. Cortisol is related to increase in skin damage and free radicals and decrease in collagen content. So definitely psychological stress is a factor which leads to skin aging as well. So that's the third factor we are now introducing here. So now it's going to be a bit dry maybe, but I'm going to go over it quickly. We want to understand the problems. We want to get away the cause of the problem. And essentially what we see with skin aging is that skin aging for a large part starts in the skin cells, the keratinocytes, the fibroblasts, the melanocytes, etc. These get damaged in time through the extrinsic and intrinsic factors like UV and cortisol, and these damaged cells will then be repaired or not, and hopefully go into apoptosis, or not, and will then go into senescence. Senescent cells, so these damaged cells will go through a process of cellular events leading to senescence. Senescent cells are very active. They're not proliferative, but they're very active in producing all kinds of detrimental molecules like inflammatory mediators, but also proteases like MMP1 and MMP3, etc. Together we call this family of molecules the SASP, the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, and these senescent cells producing all these molecules, damaging other cells, damaging collagen, breaking down elastin, breaking down hyaluronic acid, inducing pigmentation, inducing redness, and so on, will lead to skin aging, the skin looking aged, looking older. So what we want to look at is this process between the damaged cell and the senescent cell, and that's where we found in our research that GATA4, GATA binding protein 4, hardcore cell biology, is a key molecule or protein, which when produced by damaged cells, that is where basically they are going in a process of senescence. So if we can take away GATA4, maybe we can stop this process of these cells going into senescence and for them to be able to go into apoptosis or even be repaired. So GATA4 is that key molecule we want to have a look at. Another key molecule is HAGB1, which I think is a really cool molecule here, high mobility group box 1. I just love the name, I don't know why, but probably because it sounds so macho. But essentially, HAGB1 is a pro-inflammatory mediator produced a lot by damaged cells. It is one of those markers of senescent cells, so it is a typical molecule which you will see produced by senescent cells in a high concentrations, which leads to inflammatory molecules, leads to further skin aging. So these two molecules, these are key for us to do something about, to slow down the aging process, because that is what ladies want nowadays, especially ladies still, from skin aging, anti-aging skincare, slowing down the aging process. Use UV filters, use antioxidants, but also act on these processes. And GATA4 and HAGB1 are the key molecules as far as we are concerned. So we did our studies with our product called CG Complex, where we looked at GATA4, we looked at HAGB1, we looked at the SASP, those inflammatory and molecules and those proteases like MMP1. We looked at senescence, and altogether, simplified, because I'll show you a few slides in a second, I'll go over very quickly. We did so many studies, but GATA4 can be degraded through autophagy. Autophagy is something everybody's heard of now, which is basically like a recycling mechanism inside skin cells, inside all cells in our body. Autophagy is a kind of a machinery, a cell biological machinery. It recycles molecules. But it first needs to recognize these molecules, and that's what it needs P62 for. It's like a little flag. So P62 basically links to GATA4, so it binds to GATA4 for the autophagy machinery to be able to recognize the GATA4, and that is where GATA4 will go through the recycling process and it's going to be degraded. So our product improves the production of P62, improves the autophagy, accelerates the autophagy processes, leading to more GATA4 degradation. That is what CG complex did. It reduces the production of all these molecules on this side, but also on this side. It reduces the production of HNGB1, and it reduces the number of senescent cells, where we use the marker which is called senescence-associated beta-galactosidase. So altogether, our product, CG complex, should slow down the aging processes. This activity, what it has on, let's say, senescent cells and their ability to produce the SASP, the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, is called a xenomorphic activity. So that is something, if you would Google this word xenomorphic, you will see lots and lots of literature and all that kind of stuff on slowing down aging processes by having a xenomorphic effect, so taking away, for a big part at least, the negative effect of senescent cells. Senescent cells are all over our body, but especially obviously in our skin. With age, I read recently 10-15% of all skin cells are senescent cells. So if you're aged, a big part of your cells are senescent, producing these molecules, and that is why people start to look older for a big part. What we also wanted to look at is fighting a wrinkle or two, or making the skin more even in coloration. And that is what also the consumers of 30 to 50 years old are interested in. So they don't want to just slow down the aging process. If a wrinkle is appearing, a first sign of skin aging, you could say, that is where people want to do something about these. That is obviously much easier to do than if you have a deep wrinkle, elastosis, with an 80-year-old person. You know, that's something we're never going to be able to do something about in the cosmetic industry, at least with a skincare product. I mean, but we can at least do something against the first signs of skin aging, and that is where we need to energize skin, and that's what our product does. And also, under these stress conditions, that's an important thing, because there's always stress. There's always going to be stress. Our skin is constantly stressed. Our skin is unbelievably dynamic. So under these stress conditions, it is important to produce collagen still and hyaluronic acid, for instance. And that is something our product also does. So we stress those cells, we put the stress on, and then we looked at hyaluronic acid production, procollagen 1 production, and we saw effects. So summarizing, just to give you an idea of how many studies we did, and this is not all studies we did, but we did studies on fibroblasts, which were stressed with hydrocortisone, which is a cortisol mimic, so to say, in cell biology. You might think this is anti-inflammatory, but in high concentrations, it is a cortisol-like effect it has. We looked at UV light. We looked at time, as I said. So we looked at those three drivers of aging. We looked at all those markers of senescence, the SASP members, so to say. We looked at GATA4 with keratinocytes. We looked at hyaluronic acid with fibroblasts. We looked at hyaluronic acid with full skin models, so artificial skin, including an epidermis and a dermis, where the fibroblasts are in. We stressed this system with UV light. We also, additionally, so another experiment, we aged them over 10 days, and we saw still that our product was able to induce production of hyaluronic acid, that kind of stuff. So we did many studies leading to an end conclusion in one sentence. Well, it should work. It should be working for this 30 to 50-year-old person who wants to slow down the aging process and wants to do something against the visible signs of skin aging, which when they first appear. And that is something we looked at. And that is where we then went to the clinical studies, the in vivo results, where we wanted to have a relevant design. We, active ingredient suppliers, tend to design studies which are in favor of our product. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's relatively easy to get in vitro results. depending on the parameters you look at in the in vivo results, it's also relatively easy to get results. Start with dry skin and put water on it. It's going to be hydrated like hell. So water would be an active ingredient, which would be great, but it's not relevant in that case. You know, it's not. So we need to design a study which is relevant. So we looked at this and took this very seriously as us Germans. I'm Dutch, but I work in Germany. I've been living in Germany for 50 years. We take everything very seriously in Germany. So we want to make a relevant product. So we took into account that a person might be using one skincare product yesterday and another product today. So that is something we took into consideration, because skin by definition is always cared for when a normal person is taken. So we didn't take the washout phase. Normally, take the washout phase, 1 to 2 weeks, pause in use of skincare products. Skin will not be cared for at the start of the study. If you then put something on the skin, it will love it and it will react. And that is something which is nice, but is not relevant for the day-to-day situation for consumers. We designed a study where we took these three factors, these three drivers of skin aging into consideration. And that is where we did a study in the autumn in Northern Europe, where people tend to be more indoors. More indoors meaning heating on and dry atmosphere, bad for skin. We did a study in the autumn in a city, in Paris. People in Paris are stressed as they are, but in autumn, when the weather is getting worse, etc., in the beginning I said I love it, but of course many people don't. People feel more stressed. There's scientific literature on that plenty, where it is described that levels of stress get up, internal stress get up, and that is something we think is relevant for our study. And of course, we wanted to have a relevant cohort for volunteers. We wanted to have those 30 to 50-year-old people in our studies. We had 36 to 50-year-old people in our studies with medium to fine wrinkles in the eye area. So first signs of skin aging, who applied the products twice daily for 28 to 42 days. So we had multiple studies, a 28-day study and a 42-day studies. We performed it in the autumn, in fall, urban environment, as I mentioned before. And as I said, we didn't have a washout phase. So their skin, and it's all, Parisian ladies, so they use Lancôme and all the other, good or at least expensive brands. Until 12 hours before the start of the study, they were allowed to use their anti-aging skincare products. 91% of the volunteers used anti-aging daycare products, and half of them also used anti-aging night care products. So they had very well cared for skin. And we started then this study in the fall, in September, where the weather is still okay. We ended the study in November. That is where the weather can definitely be much worse and windy and rain, and even the first nights of below zero temperatures possibly. We wanted to basically see if our product was able to protect the skin in these circumstances, and maybe even improve skin despite the situation of the volunteers. It was going to be becoming worse over time, and despite the fact that they had really well cared for skin. So that is something we started with. This is our design, this is what we want to do, and let's see how it works. Just to remind you what we're talking about, the visible signs of skin aging. We wanted to make it relevant, so we wanted to look at these visible signs of skin aging, the lines and the wrinkles, the loss of the firmness and the sagging, and the unevenness of skin coloration. This is really new. The other things you've seen before from us as well, of course, uneven skin coloration, not just melanin. So that is something I'll show you a few pictures about as well. That's really interesting. So skin mechanical properties. This is a bit dry. I realize that the mechanical properties of skin is something you can measure with the cutometer. That is where you basically suck the skin into a probe, and then you relieve the vacuum of this sucking device, and the skin will be sucked into the device, and then after relief of the vacuum, it will go back to its normal state with a certain speed, with a certain activity, and that's where you then can start measuring things and making calculations, and then from that you can come to conclusions on, let's say, different mathematical parameters from the Kutometer measurements. So R0, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7, we see that with our product, skin becomes more elastic and also more firm. How does that work? As explained, this is a suction chamber, a suction device. So it's sucked in, the skin is sucked into the device, it will deform, and then the vacuum will be released and it will get back to its normal state, its healthy state. All these parameters are there. And with these parameters, you can do all kinds of mathematical tricks. And there's lots of scientific literature on these mathematical equations and what kind of, let's say, relevance they have. And you can see that especially R7 and R5 are very relevant from scientific literature. We know that R5 and R7 correlate very strongly with skin aging. So we want to improve these the most. The others are interesting too, but 5 and 7 and a bit 2 as well, they are the most important. And as you can see, we improve those quite well with our product at 3% use level. That's something I needed to emphasize, of course. And we used in this little study, this is a 28-day study, 18 volunteers. So another study we did was on the face. So we did a hemi-face study. So a half side test basically. One side was treated with the placebo formulation, so a vehicle basically, and the other side was treated with the same vehicle but containing 3% of the CG complex. This was random. This was blinded, so nobody knew what product contained what ingredient or whether the active ingredient was contained in the product. And you can see with the AEVA HE 3D imaging technology of EOTech in France. Basically, what you can do is something you might know from Primos. If you've heard of Primos, this is an older technology which is still in use a lot. This is, let's say, a newer version of that, a newer evolution of this, where you not just are able to measure the topography of skin, you know, the creases and the valleys and the mountains, but you can also make that visible. So this is not a photograph. This is the information obtained by this AEVA measurement system on the topography, the valleys and the hills of the skin, and you can see beautifully the wrinkles and but also little creases which probably are related to pores, etc. And you can see then basically, or you can do then a calculation, very simple. You can take the surface area which is occupied by the fine lines and folds, so the colored areas, and you divide that by the total surface area, and you can then, you know, do at different time points the same calculations. And that's where you can see that at 14 days into the study, we see a reduction of 3% of the density of fine lines and wrinkles. And we can see after 28 days, it's more than 4%. That's not maybe much, you would think. Yeah, 3-4%, Harald, what are you talking about? But it's calculated on the whole hemi face, basically. If you would calculate this on the eye area alone, and that is where you obviously see the most of those wrinkles and fine lines, you will see more dramatic results, obviously. So that's where the percentages would be much higher. But we don't want to be unscientific. We want to be looking at the whole hemi face because that is, you know, that makes a person look older or younger, not just the eye area. The eye area is very important, but that's what we want to have a look at more closely with another technology. And that is what we did with color phase technology. Basically, this is standardized photography. So standardized meaning always the same lighting and position of the face, etc. And with this technology, we can then do calculations. So the color phase technology allows to do calculations about the wrinkles around the eye area, where we see effects on these 32 volunteers on the volume, the length, and the surface area of the fine lines and wrinkles. So you can see clearly compared to the placebo, so the vehicle formulation, the same formulation without the CG complex, that we reduce these parameters of the wrinkles. 36 to 50 years old, so they didn't have deep wrinkles. Most of them didn't have deep wrinkles. I'll show you an example of somebody else in a second, but this is a lady who was, I think she was 38 or something. So she had first line here, this longer line here. You can see that, which was present. The rest is just the topography, and that is where the wrinkles will start to appear, possibly soon. With the Newton technology, you can do those calculations. So they define the wrinkles with their technologies, and that is where you can do calculations. After 14 days, you can already see that the skin becomes much smoother. And after 42 days, you can see that this process, especially on the higher area here, is continuing. Just a one-to-one picture comparison, you can see a clearly less visible lines and wrinkles, and you can also see less pigmentation, by the way, which is an interesting thing to look at. I'll show you a bit more things about that in a second. This lady had deep wrinkles already. She was 50. She was clearly the oldest of the cohort of volunteers we used. She already had a deep, senile lentigine, so a pigmented spot here. You can see, especially in this area too, or under the eyes, that the skin becomes much smoother after 14 days already. And after 42 days, you can see that this is continuing further. This deep line here, or this very long line here, and these lines as well, you can see them being reduced. And one-to-one, you can see a clearly different, let's say, topography of skin, smoother, much smoother, and the wrinkles are clearly less visible. This spot is also a bit lighter, by the way. It's quite interesting to see, but that's not something we focused on with this technology. That is something we did with another technology, also using the color phase Newton technology, but with different calculations. So skin color evenness. This is something which I remind you is an important factor for most or all ethnicities. Yeah, also for Caucasian people. It's not just for people with darker skin, but also for Caucasian people. It makes skin color evenness is a very important factor in how old you look. So we can use the same technology, but with different filters to be able to calculate skin color evenness. We calculate skin color evenness, and we come to a parameter which is called H76. Don't ask me where this name comes from, but that's just how it is. And we see that just by this is high resolution photography, so we have whatever millions of pixels, and every pixel has a color, and from each color, from each pixel, we can then calculate the L, A, and B values. So we can then do statistics, and we can calculate the mean and the average of the color, but we can also calculate the standard deviation. And you can imagine that this lady on the right, this is just a Photoshop picture, of course, but this lady on the right has very low standard deviation. All the pixels will have the same color, more or less, compared to the lady on the left. H76 is nothing but that standard deviation, essentially. So we want H76 to be low as low as possible. So we did a hemi-phase study here as well, and we wanted to look at how our product works, and just to give you some examples of different ethnicities as well. So Paris is very multicultural, of course. This lady looks very French, has a very white skin, as you can see. She has a bit of couperose here, a bit of rosacea here as well. She has a bit of yellowness around the eyes, on the chin, the redness, etc. After 42 days, you can see that the color is evener, more even. This lady is North Africa, no doubt, so from Algeria or Morocco, Tunisia, somewhere from there. And you can see clearly here pigmentation being reduced. It's whiter, the skin, it's more even in color. And this lady looks basically like my grandmother 50 years ago, I would say. Redness, pigmentation, and a more even skin coloration as well. So we have a product which works, but how good does it work? That's the question we ask ourselves. And that is where we looked at makeup. Makeup we see as a benchmark. If this lady wants to look like this lady on the right, she needs to use makeup. There's nothing else which can work. So makeup is something we can definitely see as a benchmark. Nothing is better than makeup. So what we did is we looked at the effect of makeup on this parameter of H76, and we then compared our results with what makeup can do on this parameter. And that is where we came to interesting conclusions that after 28 days, the formulations, both of them, had 15 to 17, 18% of an effect, 15 to 17, where the makeup was set at 100%. But after 42 days, you can see that C and gene complex starts to work. You can see that we're up to 27, 28% of the effect makeup can achieve after this time. So essentially what we see here is that our product, by working inside the skin, makes the skin color more even, much clearly better than the placebo formulation. And we're at 27% more or less of what makeup can achieve, which is a huge step as far as us is concerned. So we have a very active product. And we have a very relevant product because many people don't want to use makeup or use less makeup nowadays. And, you know, this is like a biological makeup-like effect you could get of CNG complex. What is CNG complex? I'm almost ready. Is a product which is obtained from Galdieria sulfuraria. Galdieria sulfuraria is a red algae. I would call this an extremophile. It lives in those puddles and geysers in and around volcanoes. It's extreme in its extremophilicity, I would say, because it is very adaptive. It's relatively easy to, you know, live in a certain situation. But then if the situation changes and you need to adapt, that is where you're really extreme in your extremophilism or whatever English word you can think of in this case. But this is where it's smart at. It is adaptive. And skin needs to be adaptive as well in the aging process. So of course we don't use this product as is from volcanoes, but we ferment this product, these Galdieria sulfuraria cells under stress and changing stress for them to produce molecules which are beneficial for skin. So this is a very highly technological process where we have established with this product to obtain activity which is relevant for the consumer. And that is where I end my presentation, where I would like to emphasize a few other things. It's preservative free, it's Cosmos certified, so it's natural. We have a patent on it, a CLR patent on it. This is the INCI name. To be clear, beta-8 sucrose was also present in the placebo. So of course these molecules will have activity on skin, but we made a comparison between the hydrolyzed rhodophysae extract containing formulation and the hydrolyzed rhodophysae extract non-containing, if that makes sense, formulation in our in vitro and in vivo studies. And with that, I thank you very much for your attention.
Harold, thank you. That was so interesting. Just to let you know that the first few slides, there was some technical issues with the sound that we were alerted about. And so what we will do is make the recording available to our online guests, should they need it. What I found particularly interesting, I remember years ago coming into the industry, P&G or Procter & Gamble used to do a lot of these studies on looking at uneven skin tone and just looking at that one factor and what a massive difference it made on subjectively analyzing the skin, whether someone looks younger or older. Yeah. And the whole thing also about gender, which you touched a little bit on, is if you look at a woman from different, not genders, different racial cultures, how we perceive certain women of racial cultures to be older or younger. So there's all of that sort of bias that comes into it as well. So your presentation was very informative because I love the photoshopped images because that is actually what we're trying to attain with these scientific ingredients to get there as close as possible. So
I would recommend everybody to keep an eye on Paul Metz from Procter & Gamble. Paul Metz is a fantastic guy, professor and working at Procter & Gamble, and he does a lot with imaging and lots of interesting publications about what makes you look young and older, depending on culture and all these kinds of things. So that's something I definitely recommend to.
And definitely, it's more like a three-pronged approach, I think, with these actives, because you can't just be using single actives and believing that everything is going to become right in the skin and that you can have this photoshopped effect.
Yeah.
It's really, because we have a question also with regards
Yes.
to maybe using in combination and getting some super boosting effects. Liesl
Yes.
has a question for you,
Yes.
Harold.
So Harold, looking at the question was, can the active be used in combination with hyaluronic acid? You did say in your presentation that this active boosts the production of hyaluronic acid in the skin. Is there a booster effect if you add more hyaluronic acid to your product, or don't you think it's necessary?
No, depending on molecular size, etc. Hyaluronic acid has different biological effects. You know, the big size will just bind water, and the smaller size might be penetrating and doing more biological stuff in the skin, so to say. And I think it is by definition a good idea, depending on the budget you have for your formulation, to find intelligent, smart combinations of active ingredients. I think it starts with the use of UV filters in daycare products, anti-aging daycare products, maybe an antioxidant, but not too much, because otherwise it can get pro-oxidative, so that's a bit complicated as well. And then things like hyaluronic acid or argireline or matrixyl even, you know, these have all different types of biological mechanisms in the skin. And it is worth trying to understand these mechanisms, trying to appreciate the synergies, possible synergies at least, and then get to a smart combination. And that's fun as a cosmetic scientist, I would say. But that also depends on the budget you have. Yeah, so many people don't have much budget and they're happy to be able to use vitamin E acetate or something. But that's bad luck then.
No, definitely. And also to add, to use clever makeup as well, cosmetic makeup. There's so much new technology with light refracting pigments. I think in combination with these high-end actives, you can actually achieve this Photoshop effect. Other than using Photoshop on an Instagram filter or social media filter, you can actually do it at home using actives with smart color cosmetics, you know, in synergy with each other. So, and your presentation alluded a little bit to that at the end. So thank you for that, because that is the reality of our world, is using cosmetics with color cosmetics. So is that the only question?
Yes, that's the only
Okay,
question.
that is the only question for you today, Harold. You let off the hook early. Thank you very much. We've really enjoyed your presentation. And we will pass on to the live recording to all those who request it and who need it. Thank you, Harold. So we're going to get on to the next presenter,
Great.
who is Olivia, who is also a very familiar name in South Africa. So Liesl, would you welcome him, please?
Yes, so welcome back, Olivia. Olivia is not new to the COSCHEM audience. We've seen you here quite a few times, and we're very glad to have you back this year. And I won't take up too much of your presentation time. I think we're very interested to hear about this vitamin B12 crystal, and also that DSM was awarded at In-Cosmetics Global the Best Ingredient Award Silver for an innovation zone. So congratulations with that, and we're looking forward to hear about it.
I just want to butt in. I want to know, can we take vitamin B12 injections and use this and get a really, really good effect? You know, it's always about the holistic
beauty
effect.
of vitamins. Injection, I'm not sure, but yes, vitamins are essential for life. So, and you know, vitamin B12, you cannot, the body cannot synthesize it, so we need it. So yes, I think in and out is a great topic to explore. But for today, so thank you very much for the opportunity to let me introduce you the innovation around vitamin B12. And what is amazing, because we speak about a biotech vitamin, and also which is pink, we will see that later, for sensitive and stressed skin. So here is the agenda. We will start with some market and consumer insight. We will look at the ID card of the ingredient and the consumer benefits. And then what are those new scientific discoveries that are quite unique? And then we will see the formulation inspirations. So first, we look at the market, and more, yes, maybe a step back, we discuss about the vitamin and their essentiality, we can say it like that. This is top of mind choice for strengthening the defense And it starts with the food, because we know that a well-balanced diet focused on vitamin-rich food supplement is well known to be an important way to support personal immune health. And we know that vitamins are also beneficial nutrients for the skin. They help to strengthen the defense from external aggressors and promote a healthy looking complexion. The importance of the vitamin-rich skincare routine. Why? Because epidermis doesn't contain blood vessels that supply the cells with nutrients. Therefore, topical application of vitamin can effectively complement diary consumption, leading to a stronger and healthier protective barrier. We know also that the skin is a primary defense organ, constantly exposed to external aggressors, so that a solid, properly nourished skin immune system can help to protect from invading pathogen causing of dermatologic problems. So we see the importance of the in and out, or we say the beauty from within, but also a topical application is relevant for skincare. Here is the panel of the DSM vitamins. So we are the number one supplier in the vitamins. We cover all the needs. Vitamins are essential for the life. And we are very happy to come with this vitamin B12. We cannot say it's a new vitamin because this is a vitamin and they are well known for the health. But for skin, vitamin B12 was not so explored. And our researchers have looked at how to put value on this vitamin because we know it was used and then we found new ways to explain the mode of action, in particular on stressed and sensitive skin.
Okay, as you've seen, we're having some technical difficulties. What would a conference be online without a technical difficulty or two? We're just trying to get Olivier back online, so just give us a few minutes, and as soon as he's back, he'll be back on your screen. Thanks.
Some people look for love, settle when they look deep enough. Others will take their time. It takes too long, they'll soon find. Some people
Welcome back, everyone. Apologies for all these technical delays that we're having. So we're going to get back to Olivia, and we're going to actually go back to the presentation from the beginning, from slide 1. So Olivia may start again, Back to the Future. Sorry about that.
I can do it again.
Yes.
And it, oh, I think I hear an echo. Yes, hello?
Yes, we can see you, can hear you. Perfect. Back to the Future. Let's go.
Yes. Okay, but the problem is when I speak, I hear my echo.
Oh, on this side, it's all fine. It's all good. Everything is, there's no echo.
Okay. Hello? I don't hear anybody anymore. Shall I start?
Perfectly. Perfectly, Olivia. Go ahead. We can see you. There's no echo. I think it's just on your side.
Okay, so I start. Thank you very much. So I'm very pleased to present you the vitamin B12, so our biotech pink vitamin for sensitive and stressed skin. Here is the agenda. It is about market and consumer insight. We will see the ID card of the product, the consumer benefits, the new scientific discoveries, and the formulation inspirations. First, the vitamins are top-of-mind choice for strengthening the defenses. A well-balanced diet focused on vitamin-rich food and supplement is well known to be an important way to support personal immune health. Vitamins are also beneficial nutrients for the skin. They help strengthen defenses for external aggressors and promote a healthy-looking complexion. The importance of a vitamin-rich skincare routine. Why? Because epidermis doesn't contain blood vessels that supply the cell with nutrients. Therefore, topical application of vitamin can effectively complement dietary consumption, leading to a stronger and healthier protective barrier. We know skin is a primary defense organ, constantly exposed to external aggressors, and a solid, properly nourished skin immune system can help to protect from invading pathogens causing of dermatologic problems. Here is the offer of DSM. Just to mention, DSM is #1 producer in the world of the vitamin. In particular, we are acting a lot into nutrition and then personal care. And vitamin B12 is not a new to the world vitamin. Vitamins are the vitamins are defined, but we have made new discoveries around this vitamin B12. And also, what we see, this vitamin B12 was not so much used because it was not so much evidences for the topical application in personal care, and this is what we bring today. What is important also to notice is the promises of DSM looking at the vitamins. Being the #1, we touch millions of people in the world through our solutions, so nutrition and also personal care solution. And there is no compromise. No compromise about quality, reliability, traceability, and sustainability. All of that under the QualiSeal. Now, when we look at the trends, indeed, we can start and see what is in Asia, in particular in Korea, China, and Japan. There are already some products on the market, and we believe that with our new findings, it will be a lot of new products that will come. Here in Korea, Misha Vitamin B12 Double Eye Drop Set is for skin hydration, and the vitamin B12 is highlighted for replenishing moisture and energy for the skin, and completed with a multivitamins cocktail, vitamin B3, B5, A, C, and E. We can find vitamin B12 in Europe, in Western countries, like in France with Filorga, also in hair care with Unilever, with the Tresemme brand. And there is this Vitacreme B12 or B12, we can say, very famous in Switzerland. And this vitamin B12 is naturally pink. And we know that pink color is actually very trendy in cosmetics, in skincare. It's a flattering color, universal color, working to bring out the natural flush on the cheeks and warms up the face. And for the summer, so what's the summer 22? We know that bubble gum, so from Pantone, so the bubble gum color is very trendy. And as guests also in South Africa, you are entering in the summer, and that this color will be and is also very trendy. Let's see the ID card of the ingredient and the consumer benefits. Vitamin B12 is one of the most complex vitamins with a cobalt structure. It's involved in cell metabolism, is a cofactor of DNA synthesis, and vitamin B12 deficiency causes skin hyperpigmentation, atopic dermatitis, erythema nodosum, vitiligo, glossitis, and hair and nail changes. The inky name, so we know all vitamin B12 is vitamin B12, and the inky name is cyanocobalamin. We have a China compliancy and as well halal, while the manufacturing process is a non-GMO bacterial fermentation, bringing the naturality of this ingredient up to 67.8%. And we have as well the vegan compliancy. This vitamin is under the vitamin B group. It's a water-soluble vitamin. And as I was saying in the introduction before, it is not synthesized by human body. So we need to have this vitamin B12 in intake, but topically, it's an interesting way to address, and what we will see, stressed and fatigued skin. So vitamin B12 soothes and regenerates sensitive skin, making it look more vibrant. Vitamin B12 will relieve sensitive and stressed skin, and it's of choice for dermatological treatments for skin conditions like itchy, dry, inflamed, red, and cracked skin. And it helps to prevent photo-damaged skin as well. We see that vitamin B12 can protect the skin barrier damage induced by inflammation, and it plays as well an important role in speeding up the cell recovery and regeneration. We will see also that vitamin B12 is able to maintain a healthy microbiome. At the end, the skin looks more vibrant. And you can add a touch of pink in your formulations. Let's look so now deeper about the new scientific discoveries that were awarded at In-Cosmetics this year in the Innovation Zone Best Ingredient Silver Award. So it's about anti-inflammatory properties, and then we have as well an introduction on how to keep an healthy microbiome. Now, to explain and understand the mode of action, we have explored the epigenetic. We have made a screening on 105 microRNAs. And you know the microRNAs are triggering the gene expression, therefore have a very strong influence on, I would say here, about keratinocyte on our skin. And what we have seen is that we have identified 22 microRNA that significantly are modulated by vitamin B12, and in particular, the microRNA miR22-3P. miR22-3P plays an important role. This is an inhibiting messenger RNA and protein expression of NLRP3, and thus reduce inflammasome activity. I will just explain you after what it means. It also inhibits the NLRP-mediated activation of capsase-1, an enzyme that cleaves pro-interleukin beta and pro-interleukin 18 into the active form, initiating an inflammatory cascade. Then, what is important is to explain what is the inflammasome in the keratinocyte and its influence in the inflammation process. UV, pollution, and any oxidative stress induce the formation of the NLRP3 inflammasome, which is an intracellular multiprotein composed of NLRP3, nucleotide binding domain, leucine-rich repeated family purine domain containing 3, and as well ASC, apoptosis-associated speck-like protein containing a capsase recruitment domain and a pro-capsase. And in that, this complex is responsible for regulating the immunological response, triggering the inflammatory production of cytokines, such as interleukin beta and interleukin 18. And if this is chronically activated, it causes skin irritation and premature aging. So what you see on this picture, this is the inflammasome multiprotein complex. How miR22-3P is activated by vitamin B12, but then the other component, we will see that a bit later, because this is what comes after the proof of the mode of action. But here is the concept. So vitamin B12 upregulating miR22-3P helps to counteract inflammatory mechanism, being the inhibitor of the NLRP3 inflammasome. And it reduces as well the ASC complex activation, and finally slows down the cleavage of pro-interleukin beta into interleukin beta, which is the active form. So now we look at the studies, maybe a bit briefly to catch up on the timing. We have discovered, our scientists, for the first time, that vitamin B12 reduces the inflammasome activation. We have a proof here on the left side about the expression and the upregulation of miR22-3P after UV stress. This is an ex vivo test on a female donor. This is a Caucasian volunteer. I mean, we took some cells, and then we see how vitamin B12 can upregulate miR22-3P expression. While for the ASC, we see here a downregulation by 100% to the level of the non-treated sample at 0.01% after UVB stress. What is also interesting to complete the mode of action is the reduction of the pro-inflammatory cytokine, so the interleukin-1 beta after UV stress. And why we use the UV in this model, this is to simulate the stress, of course. And then what we have seen is that vitamin B12 is able to reduce the increase of interleukin beta production after UVB stress by 35% using 0.01% of vitamin B12. Then, to complete the view, it is important when we think about inflammation, when we look at inflammation, to look at the mast cell degranulation. The mast cells can be activated by environmental stress factors like allergens, UV light, pollution, and free radicals. And then they will liberate pro-inflammatory mediators. Then the skin impact is itchiness, stinging, burning, redness, dry skin, even atopic dermatitis. What we have explored and seen with our new result on the mast cell that we have incubated is that we can reduce their degranulation thanks to the presence of vitamin B12. And here in this test, the mast cell degranulation was reduced by 27% in this in vitro test. We have a positive control, which was chromoline sodium also for the comparison. And now, going to more an in vivo test, so to see what happens on the skin. We have seen that vitamin B12 can reduce all symptoms related to atopic dermatitis, such as pruritus in vivo. So this is a literature finding. This test was made on 2 times 22 subjects, male and female, with mild atopic dermatitis. And a product containing 0.07 of vitamin B12 was applied, while another without. And this was applied 2-3 times a day versus a placebo. And it was a 12 weeks treatment, plus a 4-week checking without any treatment. So we have looked at the SCORAD. The SCORAD is a scoring of atopic dermatitis. This is a clinical tool to assess the severity of atopic dermatitis on 3 dimensions: area, intensity, like redness, swelling, stretch marks, dryness, and the subjective symptoms like itchy, and so on. And what you see on the left graph, so this is the baseline. We have the different weeks, and we see the score, which is dramatically decreasing for the group using the cream with vitamin B12. While this is not so obvious for the group using a glycerol petrolatum-based emollient cream. After 12 weeks, the vitamin B12 treatment is stopped, and even also the emollient for the other group. And what we have seen that after 4 weeks, the symptoms of atopic dermatitis are still in a better condition compared to the baseline. Which makes also or prove a kind of a lasting effect with vitamin B12. The test was not done after, but what we see with this study is a really great efficacy of vitamin B12 for stressed skin. And then we go now into the microbiome. Our scientists have explored the skin microbiome, and we have seen here that vitamin B12 is able to prevent over-colonization of Staphylococcus aureus. So those are an in vitro test. We have a combination of 2. So here is on the left and on the right. So first we evaluate Staphylococcus epidermidis with Staphylococcus aureus altogether. Staphylococcus epidermidis is a commensal bacteria, typically a part of a healthy human skin microbiome, and it acts as a sentinel of skin microbiota, helps to limit the inflammation. So it's very important also to look at this bacteria. And if you have an colonization of Staphylococcus aureus that we made in vitro, we just added more Staphylococcus aureus, we see that with the presence of vitamin B12, we can reduce the activity and the presence of Staphylococcus aureus. While for another bacteria, so Staphylococcus hominis, which is a harmless commensal bacteria on human skin, having a potent activity against pathogenic bacteria, we see also that with the presence of aureus and vitamin B12, we can reduce Staphylococcus aureus presence. So we say that vitamin B12 fosters the share of beneficial bacteria over non-beneficial skin bacteria, and this is nowadays of great interest, microbiome attracting more attention from consumers. And now let's have a look about formulation inspiration to go beyond. So vitamin B12 is a naturally pink vitamin, and we can help to suggest you some formulation. You will have a nice color. Of course, it depends of the dosage, and our formulation team can help also to look on how to stabilize this color. We have prepared a nice soothing soft polar cream. So here today I don't present all the details of the formula, but with our partner Kempure in South Africa, you can get all the information and all the details of the formula. So vitamin B12 defense proposal, and just what I would like to say about this soft polar cream, you can put it in the freezer and it will not freeze because of a unique formulation, and it gives a nice soothing effect with a fresh effect, and additionally with the vitamin B12. We have a vitamin B vibrant booster. We have a double shot serum. So the double shot serum is composed of two phases. One phase is transparent and one phase is pink, thanks to the vitamin B12. And we have as well an in and out wrinkle filler serum, which color is also pink and very appealing for consumers. So it's not only appealing because of the color, but vitamin B12 is also appealing because of its efficacy for stress and sensitive skin. In a nutshell, we have seen that vitamin B12 is a biotech pink vitamin, which is naturally derived. It acts on atopic dermatitis, reduces erythema and pruritus. It prevents inflammation. We have an epigenetic regulation on the inflammasome. So then we understand the mode of action, and this is quite unique and new. We reduce also the mast cell degranulation, giving also a great insight on the activity of this ingredient, and we can maintain a healthy microbiome. For the consumers, the skin, the stressed and sensitive skin will be relieved, and the skin condition like itchy, irritated, inflamed, red and cracked skin will be also relieved. It helps to prevent photo damaged skin. Also, we have seen this is a big stress for the skin. And as well, we can protect the skin barrier damage induced by inflammation. And finally, I will say that the skin looks more vibrant, and this pink vitamin can provide nice and pleasant, appealing color for cosmetics products. If you want to know more, you can always go to the DSM website. I have added a little QR code. We have application, benefits, solution. You can know more vitamin B12, and you can always also reach our partner Kempure in South Africa, of course, to know more and to have more details. Even here, I have a bigger QR code if you would like to go directly. Thank you very much, and it was really a pleasure to present you this innovation, and thank you to all the organizers of this COSCHEM event and to give me the opportunity to be there.
Thank you, Oliver. That was so great. I love the pink, pink even tone. It's so trendy at the moment. We're loving it. Just a question. Your studies, there wasn't a comparison to any of the other, so like what we consider often the gold standards in the industry is something like bisabolol. You know, like we compare kojic acid to another skin lightener, brightener. So how would you say, because we were just looking at the results there, I see it's 3 applications after 12 weeks used at 0.07%. Bisabolol we normally use between 0.1 to 0.5%. Often the studies are done 2 applications a day. So do you have any comment on how it is comparable to a standard like bisabolol?
I think I cannot answer directly like that because I don't have the information, but I will check with our scientist. Indeed, bisabolol is one of the reference for sensitive skin, and yeah, it would be good to compare. The thing is, maybe the mode of action is different, and also maybe about the ingredient, as vitamin B12 being a vitamin, which makes also a unique proposal. But I understand your point in terms of benefits. If one or the other, how do they behave? And and if we can get any comparison. But this I don't have for the moment. But I can check. I think it's interesting to know.
And then just another question, Olivia, while you're online, is with regards to baby care application. Would a vitamin B12 be a good marketing tool for a baby application? I'm just wondering as well, because
The thing is, baby care, why not? The thing is, for DSM and our application, personal care application, baby care is always a line that we can suggest, but we don't have the test, you know, on babies. We cannot have baby volunteers, or it could be maybe some scientific article. So why not? But then you have always to check, you know, also the regulatory and so on. So, but it's a possibility. But then it should be further checked under regulatory and other considerations.
And finally, lastly, also, what about a hair scalp application? Would it, or is it only for face application? I mean, if it's working on anti-inflammatory responses?
In the trends I presented, there is already one product from Tresemme, so from Unilever, in hair care using vitamin B12. We have not investigated yet vitamin B12 on scalp care, because it would be more on the scalp where I would see the activity for the moment, but why not on the fiber? And on the scalp, yes, it could be an anti-inflammatory activity, indeed. Last year, I was happy to share with you some findings on hair care, because it was a great work from our scientists on other ingredients, and it was a blend of vitamins for hair care. So vitamin B12, yes, and vitamins in general. Of course, some vitamins are maybe more specific for, I would say, for particular needs, and why not vitamin B12 for sensitive scalp? Huh? But we have not made the investigation yet.
Perfect. Well answered. Thank you. I think that was really good. A good presentation, some nice new technologies coming out, and it's always lovely to hear with regards to vitamins.
Yes, so we
Is there a
have
question?
Yes, we have
Okay.
one more question.
Sorry, Oliver.
From our audience online, they would just like to know what is the concentration of the vitamin B12.
Okay, so in the test, we have seen that the concentration was 0.007, if I can just go there, but 0.07, sorry, but we believe that you can start lower. Maybe 0.02 or 0.03 should work as well. You know, when we look at the mode of action, this is dose dependent. Maybe 0.07. Also considering the budget of the formula, it could be interesting to lower it, and it's possible.
Okay. Parfait. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. It was really a pleasure to be with you today.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for enduring the technical difficulties on both sides. But it was a pleasure to have you on board again. Thank you, Olivia. Au revoir. All right, and moving along the same theme with this whole sort of even tone, pink tone. I'm loving this this glow, the summer glow theme that we're coming into. Liesl is going to introduce our next speaker, who's all the way from Spain, and I'm looking very jealously at a lot of my friends who have just come back from Spain recently, from the European summer. So
We'll have a healthy glow.
yes.
Great. Well, thank you. And I do apologize. I hope it's Dr. Juan. I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. And
Very well, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. My Spanish is picking up then. We're really looking forward to this talk. I think it's very relevant in our context for our country, and I do think there's not always a lot of research being done on ethnic skin. And as you mentioned here in the abstract, it definitely is. It is different from any other skin type, and I do think research specifically on ethnic skin is really, there's not a lot around, so it's really good to see that there's some research on it, and we're really looking forward to this talk, and as you said, continuing with the trend of glow and even skin tone. So thank you very much.
So over to you, Juan. We look forward to hearing your presentation today.
Perfect. Thank you. Good morning. First, thank you all for giving me the opportunity to present today this ingredient that, as you have commented, is especially designed for ethnic skin to have an even glow skin. So this is the agenda for today. We will talk a little bit about the dream to have an even skin tone and how melanin and the hyperpigmentation can give problems to our skin. And then we will talk about a solution that we can provide to solve this problem. We'll talk about the efficacy, in vivo, in vitro tests, etc. So let's talk first a little bit about the problem of the hyperpigmentation. That basically it's a visible construct in the skin that it's produced by an increase in the accumulation of the melanin that is produced normally by, can be produced, for example, by UV damage, but can be produced also by inflammation processes or different everyday activities like the shaving, the mask wearing, irritations, etc. So this is a problem that can affect all the consumers, no matter the age, no matter the skin type. And of course, it's producing a tighter looking complexion, and in some cases, even more frustrating than, for example, the acne. So melanin is the key molecule for the skin pigmentation. You know that melanin is a natural molecule, a natural polymer that is synthesized in our skin, and the main purpose of melanin is to protect against ultraviolet radiation. So it's our natural sunscreen to protect against UV. But not only photoprotection, melanin is also determining the skin color, influencing the tone and the luminosity. However, in normal skin, this melanin is homogeneously distributed in the skin, but with the age and with different problems, there can be some changes in the deposition of the melanin that can produce these hyperpigmented areas that lead to this reduced evenness. Sometimes we can call these solar lentigines or age spots, dark spots, etc. And in most cases are because this UV damage. So let's talk a little bit about the production of the melanin in the skin. So the process by which melanin is synthesized and distributed in the epidermis to provide the pigmentation is very, very complex, and it involves multiple steps. So the production of melanin is also known as melanogenesis and takes place in a very highly specialized cells called melanocytes. So these melanocytes are located in the basal layer of the epidermis and spread many dendritic extension or dendrites that have direct contact with the keratinocytes in the lower epidermis. So each melanocyte is in contact with around 30 to 40 keratinocytes, and this is what is called epidermal melanin unit. So there is a crosstalk between the keratinocytes and the melanocytes in this epidermal melanin unit with intricate cellular and molecular interactions between them that will determine the pigmentation. So for instance, the UV radiation stimulates the keratinocytes to release different signaling factors, and these factors will interact also with the melanocytes to start the melanogenesis process. So then the melanocytes synthesize the melanin with a membrane bones called melanosomes that are inside the melanocytes. And once these vesicles are filled with melanin, they are transported along the melanocyte dendrites and transferred to the keratinocytes, where the melanin will absorb and scatter the UV light, providing the photoprotection that we need for the skin. So this degree of pigmentation and the visible color of the skin is determined by several factors, mainly occurring through the whole process of melanin production and spreading. The most important factor is the activity of melanocytes, which is directly related to the quantity of melanin that is produced in the number and inside the melanosomes. So we can differentiate 4 different steps in the skin pigmentation process. One is the first one is the activation of the melanocytes that is mainly produced by the UV radiation, but other internal factors like the inflammation or hormones can also activate these melanocytes. Then these melanocytes needs to produce and maturate the melanosomes, where the melanin will be synthesized in this third step. And finally, the fourth one is the transport and transfer of the keratinocytes. The melanin will be transferred to the keratinocytes. So let's see now a little bit more in detail the different steps of this melanin production. The first one is the activation of the melanocytes. And this melanocyte function and the process of melanogenesis are controlled by several signaling pathways. So these intracellular routes are activated by the binding of ligands to specific receptors in the melanocyte membrane. And after multiple steps, all of them converge in the activation of the microphthalmia-associated transcription factor, also known as MITF. This is a critical regulator of the melanogenesis, but also the dendricity, proliferation, and survival of melanocytes. So it's a key transcription factor that will start all the melanin synthesis. And there are different factors that can activate this MITF. The most relevant is the endothelins that are essential proteins for this melanocyte development. Inside the endothelins, we can highlight the endothelin 1, which is secreted from the keratinocytes after exposure to UV radiation. This endothelin 1 will interact with the endothelin receptor B that is placed in the melanocyte membrane to transcript the MITF. This transcription factor is also upregulated by the WNT family proteins. These are glycoproteins that regulate some cell functions. And in the case of the melanocytes, the WNT1 binds to the free cell receptors, and through different intracellular signalings results in the transcription and activation of the MITF. It has been demonstrated that WNT is overexpressed in lower density genes, and it's thought to contribute to their development. And once activated, the MITF controls the melanogenesis and stimulates the transcription of different melanogenic elements. That includes, for example, the enzymes responsible for the melanin synthesis,